I mean, Alison Pearson called the police a cult.
She did.
Is that quite stark language, particularly from the right? And someone like Alison Pearson, who I presume sort of identifies as centre-right Telegraph journalist. This is unusual. I mean, we covered the Chris Cabba incident on the podcast, probably coming up for 2 years now ago. And the traditional, certainly in my lifetime, understanding was that the left were kind of sceptical of the police, believed that they were racist, and the right would always back the boys in blue. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's changing?
Well, I think Alison used that kind of language because she was the victim of quite a cult-like process. I mean, she was targeted for reasons that are extraordinary and totally weird. And she's right in the sense that I think some senior police officers think it's their job to control the thoughts and feelings of the officers beneath them and control the way that those officers think and believe things about the wider world. I think that's all true. I think it's right to mention the Chris Cabba shooting and the targeting of Martin Blake, because we had in this country the first prosecution of a firearms officer in many decades. In circumstances that perhaps most people in the public would think are quite unusual, in that, Chris Cabba did appear to drive his car at police officers. Martin Blake then fired. The jury again acquitted him quite quickly, but he's still facing professional misconduct proceedings. And of course, there was the moment that most people probably ignored at the time, but I thought was extraordinary. I had a friend who at the time worked in armed policing, and he said that for at least 48 hours, we had no functioning firearms officers in London because they protested by handing their weapons back and saying, we're not doing this. And the way he phrased it to me is, well, you train for years and years and years in case you might have to use a gun. And then the moment you use your gun, you're on leave until you're formally investigated. It's not really a job worth doing. And so on the left, I think some of the old arguments around the police being discriminatory and overusing stop and search and things still circulate. But on the right, I think there is this emerging sense that the police have lost their authority and therefore do increasingly ridiculous things and aren't institutionally supported in the way that they might once have been, which leaves the people like Martin Blake, the officer that killed Chris Cabba, open to prosecution and to perhaps the kind of thing that wouldn't be imagined 20 or 30 years ago.